I'm Gia Diaz, and you're watching the Late Hours Holiday Edition. Today, joining me first on the show is Granat. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How you doing, Gia?
I'm good. So I'm aware that you've brought 3 different animals for us today, and we're going to talk a little bit about all of them. But the first one we have, what is her name?
This is Sheba, and she is a Binturong.
Really? Okay.
A Binturong, probably a lot of people have not seen or even heard of a Binturong. Gianna's going to bring her up on the chair next to me here. And they are a large mammal. They're very arboreal. They're from Southeast Asia, so Nepal, Vietnam, China, that area there, southern China stuff, and that's where they're native to. She is about 1.5 years old. She was born on June 10th of 2017, and she's been with us her whole life. The first thing you're going to notice about her is she probably looks like nothing you've ever seen before. They have a really coarse coat. It's black. It's got some brown and white in there and stuff. She's about 35 pounds. She is full grown. They have a prehensile tail. So her tail is almost like a 5th hand. So when she's climbing, she can use it for balance and to hold on, things like that. Because again, she's in the trees a lot. So you can see she's got a pretty good grip there and stuff. They're omnivores, which means they'll eat plants, animals, whatever they can find.
Really? Okay. And how is their outside, like their life in the or in the jungle or forest or wherever they
Well,
live?
they're usually in the higher canopy of the jungle and stuff. So
Okay.
it's a very humid, very green area. But it also affords them a lot of protection because there are predators that would like to get at them and stuff. And up in the trees there, they can hide and they can move faster than a lot of other animals can.
Oh, wow. Okay, so before the show, we were talking a little bit about their numbers in statistics and all that. So are they up? Are they down?
Their numbers, there is some concern with them and stuff. And part of it is habitat loss. And the one thing, if people really want to help with them, is when you buy food products, look and make sure that if there is palm oil on the label that it says grown sustainably. Because if it's not, that is really having a negative impact on a lot of the rainforests.
And if you think that people did pay more attention to all of that, how would that affect their habitats?
Well, there'd be less people harvesting non-sustainable because it wouldn't be sold stuff. So, and it gets the word out too. And then people can also talk to manufacturers or places where they buy stuff and say, this is what we're interested in. We want stuff that's sustainable. It's like anything else. If we can regrow it and not cut the native stuff, it's much better for the animals.
Oh, wow. Okay. So like Sheba and all of the animals that we have today, you said that they were trained to be educational. What's that process like?
Yeah, they're actually a part of something we call our ambassador animal. And it's a program we have at the zoo, and a lot of zoos have them now, where we bring animals out where people can see them up close and personal and get to know about them. In order for people to make responsible decisions and to engage and care about the environment, they have to learn a little bit about it. So there's probably a lot of people looking at Sheba right now, and will go on the internet and look up Binturongs and look about them, and then you make that connection. And that's when people start getting moved to making positive changes and stuff. So she does events like this on TV. We have VIPs and different people that come to the park. We do a lot of programming with our guests and our education programs.
Wow. Okay. So before the show, I also heard that they have like a certain smell to them. What's that about?
They smell like popcorn sometimes.
Really?
It is really an unusual thing.
Wow. Do you see people at the zoo like paying more attention to these or these educational animals?
Yeah, they do, because we call them keeper chats, and we go out in the park and we get set up and stuff, and we do a presentation kind of like we're doing here, and then we talk to our guests for quite a while, their questions, and help them learn and understand a little bit more about the animals. And we want people to make a lot of contact with all of our animals. In this case, it's safe contact, because she's really not a dangerous animal and stuff, but when people see animals and learn about them, they are going to be engaged more in wanting to help them.
Okay, and are these animals on display like how the giraffes and all of those animals are on display?
Yeah, Sheba isn't, because she's an ambassador animal, but in our Fragile Kingdom exhibit, we do have them on display. So there's 4 or 5 of them over there right now, so guests can come in and see them all the time.
Okay, and with going places, where do you guys go to teach about this? Do you just do it in the zoo? Do you do it in classrooms? How is that like?
Our main audience is our zoo guests. We get over 2 million people a year and stuff, so that's the group we touch the most. But we also do a lot of media stuff, because that way we can contact a larger audience.
Okay, well, thank you very much,
You're welcome,
Glenn, for showing us our first animal, and we will be right back with more.
I think he's going to stay there.
Hello, and welcome back to the Late Hours Holiday Edition. If you're just joining us, this is my guest, Granat, and we have a new animal on set right now. So tell us a little bit about the chicken.
This is a Bantam chicken. It's a breed of chicken, and they're one of the smaller breeds. They weigh 3 to 4 pounds full grown, and this is Mr. Miyagi, and he was hatched out this spring, so he's a relatively young chicken.
Okay, and what is their lifespan like?
Under a professional care, they can live over 10 years.
Really?
Which is, a pretty long time for a chicken, considering most probably don't.
Yeah, and regarding that it is a chicken, do you guys have any difficulties with like showing it to people because it likes to move?
No, it's we've actually handled it since it hatched, so it's really used to us. It's accustomed to us. Right now, Trisha's giving it mealworms because they actually eat more insects than grain and stuff. That's one of their main things. And what he's doing, you'll see him scratching around a little bit, and that's actually a normal behavior where they scratch around trying to move bugs up.
Oh wow. Okay. So, how is the breeding process like with these chickens?
Well, these are bred domestically, so there's actually hatcheries to breed ducks and chickens and geese and turkeys and stuff, and that's where they come from and stuff. These are not necessarily bred for food. These are more for pets or for showing and stuff. They're a little bit smaller. You can actually, they do make good pets.
Really?
But the first thing you want to do is check with your local government to make sure there's no rules against having chickens and stuff. But again, he's relatively small. They do make some noise. They do that
Really?
crowing and stuff.
Yeah.
And we're not 100% sure, but they think it could be territorial or attracting mates or a combination of that. But it's quite loud and stuff, and it's very impressive.
Okay, and like the chicken is doing with his wings, does that mean something
No.
when it's raising them, or they're just like?
He's just kind of moving around.
Oh wow.
There he goes.
Okay. Okay. Same thing with how the other animal was. Do you guys like to bring her out a lot when it comes to like at the zoo to
Right.
show people?
Yeah, and the great thing about domestic chickens is a lot of birds, we can't let our guests touch them. Either the bird is too small, and we have birds of prey, hawks and owls and stuff, and obviously nobody can touch those because there's a risk. But this is a average-sized bird that a guest can touch and get close to it, and you can see how the feathers feel and how they're kind of arranged on the body and everything.
Okay. Well, when it comes to teaching younger people or people in general about these chickens, what's something like really important that you want them to know about it?
We talk a little bit about their life cycle. Chickens lay eggs like all birds. It takes 21 days for it to hatch, and birds have something called an egg tooth, which is a little bitty projection on the end of their nose, and it helps them get through the egg. And after a few hours, that drops off. And they have, it's called precocial young, where if you see a robin, mom's feeding it and it's blind for a while. Within an hour, a chicken is up and walking and is able to eat.
Oh wow. Okay. So at the zoo, how many do you have, if you could guess, or if
We
you
have
know
about
the-
6.
About 6.
Yes.
Okay. And do you plan on making more, or keeping with like the subject?
We'll stay with that number there. That's what we need for programming and exhibit.
Okay. Well, that's great. When it comes to like stuff like that, like does that ever like creep people out or make like younger people like, oh, what is it doing?
Eating the worms?
No, like when it's like stretching out.
Oh
Or...
no, that's just like when we stretch and everything. That's all he's doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you guys transport it? Does it like make a lot of noise when you transport it to like teach people about it?
We actually transport it in the type of container you would like put a small dog or cat in if you're going to the veterinarian.
Okay.
And when we first brought him in here, he crowed a couple times and stuff, but very used to it. And he goes right into the crate on his own, comes out on his own and stuff. And we actually train our chickens to do two-way calls where they go between people. So they're smart animals.
Yeah. And when you guys came in, I noticed that there were blankets over them. Is that any reason
For
why?
a couple reasons. It's a new environment, so we want to make sure they don't get startled. And it's a little chilly out there this morning, so we want to keep them nice and warm.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. Well, that is it for our chicken on set right now, and we'll be back with the next animal. Hello, and welcome back to the Late Hours Holiday Edition. So, if you're just joining us, this is my guest, Granat, and we are back with another animal, and it is a hedgehog this time. So, tell us a little bit about him or her.
This is her. This is Quilmina, and she is a hedgehog. She was born earlier this year, and we actually acquired her from the St. Louis Zoo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How did you guys manage to get that? Like, was there a certain like deal or anything like that?
The zoos in North America, or AZA zoos, are very cooperative, and we exchange animals and help each other out with programs, and animals go back and forth quite often.
Okay. So how much would you say that she weighs?
They could be between like a pound and a pound and a half.
Okay. And are they the same weight when they're born, or are they lighter?
Now, when they're born, they're probably a little bit bigger than a golf ball.
Okay.
And then within a year, they will be full size.
Okay. Other than that, I know that they're, what do you call them on their back? Do you call them spikes? Do you call them?
Those are quills.
Quills. Okay. Are they softer when they're born?
Yeah, when they're born, porcupines and hedgehogs, their quills are actually very soft and you can really move them around. But then within a few hours, when they dry, they become much harder like they are now, and it gives them a really good protective coat.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so how is their lifespan like?
12, 15 years under managed care and stuff, so they can live quite a while.
Okay, and as regarding like house pets, like how would you say that they are?
They can make a really good pet. They're not collected from the wild. People breed them in captivity and stuff, so it's not impacting any wild populations and stuff. And as you can see, Maggie's handling it without any risk of being quilled or injured or anything.
Okay, and what causes them for them to like use their quills?
It's a defensive mechanism. So if something was try to prey on them, try to eat them, they would put their quills up, and it would, obviously something would not want to bite them. There is sometimes a thought that maybe hedgehogs and porcupines can shoot their quills, but they actually can't. In order to get a quill in you, you have to make contact with them.
Okay. Oh wow.
But because this animal's been handled her whole life, you can see she's very calm in Maggie's arms.
Yeah, and what is their diet like?
They're actually, again, they're very opportunist, but they eat a lot of insects and stuff. So they'll eat worms and crickets, so we give some fruits and veggies too. So it gets a very balanced diet.
Okay, and do they give off any certain smell or anything like that?
Not particularly, no. They're pretty good smelling. I don't smell anything, so that's good.
Yeah. With the smaller animals in the zoo, how do you showcase those as educational?
Well, obviously, this is a very small animal, and she goes out all the time for programs in the zoo, outside the zoo, events like this and stuff. So she's out a lot, and people get to learn about them. And then because they are, potentially in the pet trade, we can help them understand how to take care of them, what type of commitment it is, and they can make an informed decision whether they would like to have one or not.
Okay, so do you handle them like that, or do you keep them in
just out like this?
Just like that when you teach them about people? Wow.
So what Maggie's doing is she's demonstrating. You can see she's letting the animal go from hand to hand, so the animal doesn't feel like it's restrained, and it feels like it can move around, and it's very comfortable. If you try to hold them, then they try to move away.
Yeah. And what is their little home like when they're traveling?
Again, it's a smaller crate that you might use for a small animal. If you're going to a veterinarian or something, we put it in there, and it's got blankets in there, and we always cover it too, so that they don't have anything, they don't see anything, they don't know what it is, and it can protect them from the weather.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show today, and we will be right back with our next guest on RBTV's Late Hour Holiday Edition. Welcome back to the Late Hours Holiday Edition. Now joining me is Anthony Monks from the Broadview Fire Department. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
No problem. So tell us a little bit about your job.
So I became a firefighter many years ago, and we were tasked with taking the oath of protecting life and property. And through my career, I've kind of changed that into being able to be proactive. So I want to get out to you, and I want to educate you, and I want to keep you and your family safe before something happens than rather having to deal with it after the fact. So it's a very proactive and educational thing that I'm in now, and I love it.
So as you can tell, it's winter.
Yes.
And we just got off of school for a winter storm or a blizzard. So why are those dangerous?
Sure, they could be dangerous. They cut power. When they cut power, you won't have heat in your house. And unfortunately, when we don't have heat in our house, we will turn to alternative methods to heat, which are very unsafe.
Okay, and what are some precautions that
Sure.
people can take?
Well, to start off, the most important thing you can have in your house is working smoke detectors. 3 out of every 5 fire deaths have happened because there were no working smoke detectors in the home. And a non-working smoke detector could be anything from it's more than 10 years old, the batteries are not in it, the batteries are not good, or simply they took the smoke detector down. So they're imperative to allowing you time to escape from your home.
Okay, and with people thinking that fires are more common in the winter, why do you think that is?
Sure, well, there might be that conception because during the wintertime we're all generally inside. We spend more time inside, and unfortunately that extra time can get us into a little bit of trouble. So we do see roughly 5% of all of our runs throughout the year are actual fire calls, and they are pretty much spread throughout all the seasons.
Okay. And with decorations, I know lights can get hot.
Yes.
And how can that affect?
Sure. Believe it or not, more than half of all the home fires during the holiday season were because of decoration fires.
Wow.
More importantly, though, is the use of candles. I cannot stress enough that that candle is a miniature fire. It is waiting to grow. It's waiting to go out of control. So myself, I don't use any candles because we are literally playing with danger.
Really? Okay. Wow. So with preparing for something like a winter storm, how can we do that?
Sure. It's just kind of understanding, the things that come with a winter storm. It's going to be heat. Make sure you have reliable heat. Also, if the power goes out, you need to have some food and water. Generators can become a big issue when power goes out. Unfortunately, they will sometimes feed carbon monoxide into the home. It's trying to plan for the worst case scenario now, because unfortunately, as we just saw this last weekend, when the time is actually here, we have little time to prepare. But if we have a plan, it's very easy to put it into action.
Oh, wow. Okay. So say, God, knock on wood, that something like this happens, like a candle knocks over or whatever, and you have to reach 911. What do you do after that?
Sure. So the most important thing you're going to do first and foremost is get out of the house. That is going to be number one. When you get out of your house, what I do in our town is I tell the residents to go directly across the street to your meeting place. That is the most important thing, because once the alarm goes off or someone says fire, you evacuate the house, you go to your meeting place, because when we arrive, we're going to look to see, is everybody out? And if we have any suspicion to believe that there's people still inside, we're going to risk our life every time to save their life, and we're going to go and try and save them before we even consider putting out the fire.
Okay. And tying back with precautions, how you said that candles weren't a very good idea. Is there
Yes.
anything else, like light-wise?
Yes, your Christmas lights, unfortunately, we kind of beat them up every year. We put them up, we take them down, we roll them in circles. Over time, it can damage the cord, and if it gets down to the bare wire, you have electricity going through. Also, if a light is damaged, it may overheat. And the biggest contributing factor, believe it or not, is going to be our live Christmas trees.
Really?
We tend to get them early and we keep them up till late. There's a dramatic video, if you ever want to look it up on YouTube, about Christmas tree fires. They go up in about 2 seconds because they're so dry. So our message is, as soon as Christmas is over, get rid of your tree, and while you have it inside, water it every day.
Okay. And how long have you been in the
I've been
force?
with Broadview for 9 years. I worked in another department before this. All in all, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. I'm currently 36.
Wow, okay. And with your years of being with the fire department, have you ever had any story or anything like that when it comes to winter?
So we're a little bit busier when it comes time to fires. About 5 years ago, we got called at about 2 in the morning for a report of an apartment fire. On arrival, we found heavy fire blowing out of the top window of an apartment building. We found out very shortly that there were people trapped inside. We threw up a ladder. I carried down a couple-month-old baby. It was a little nerve-wracking, but I just said to myself, we need to get down the ladder because we've got to get everyone else out. And all in all, I think we removed 5 adults from there.
Okay. And with people that are wanting to know more information, how do you present that?
So I am using social media right now. Broadview Fire Department has a Facebook. I do like to place a lot of holiday type safety facts. I also put in some other information that can be utilized throughout the year, and I strongly encourage everyone in the home to go over your plan at least twice a year.
Okay. Well, thank you, Anthony Monks, for your time, and we will be back after the break. Welcome back to the Late Hours Holiday Edition. My guest, Anthony Monks, has one more thing he wants to include for all of our viewers, so talk a little bit about that.
Sure. It's a campaign called Close Before You Doze. It's being sponsored and put out by Underwriters Laboratory. They have done a lot of research in our field, and the most important thing, where you used to have 30 minutes to get out of your house, you have about 3. So sleeping with your door closed at night is going to give you enough time to wake up and to react. So to look more into this, go to closebeforeyoudoze.org. If you need any further information, we will provide it, but I ask that everyone take it home because it will make the difference between life and death.
Well, thank you so much, Anthony, for coming onto the show. And we will be back after these short messages. Hello, and welcome back to the show. Joining me now is Todd Parker, who recently had a video that went viral on the internet. So, Todd, tell me a little bit about what led up to the incident.
I was just reporting normally like how I would, and I just took a little step back. I thought I was farther off from the edge, and I just fell right back. Kind of hurt a little bit. And then I didn't know how to swim, so that was a bit of a problem right there.
Well, for all of you at home who didn't see the video, let's take a little look. Well, that was a great video. So, why were you so close to the pool in the first place?
Oh, 'cause my cameraman told me so he could get a better shot of the pool. And I'm not so bright, so I usually step back sometimes after I report, which I blame on my cameraman for putting me that close. So I fell backwards, back first into the pool. And then none of my team didn't know I couldn't swim, so that was a bit of a problem. And they took like 10 minutes to find a floaty. Luckily, I stayed afloat.
Did you have any, what was your mind space while you were in that pool?
I need to get out of that pool.
Wow. Well, after the fact, were you mad at your cameraman? Were you upset? Were you just laughing? How was that like?
I was annoyed because I didn't have an extra pair of clothes and I was soaking the rest of the day.
Oh, wow. Did you get any comments about that?
Yeah,
Like
I
what?
got made fun of.
What did people say?
Just that I was stupid for taking a step back.
Well, thank you for your time. Welcome back to the Late Hours Holiday Edition. Joining me now on the show is Linda Dumas from the Share Food, Share Love Food Pantry. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Well, I am actually the volunteer coordinator at the Share Food, Share Love Food Pantry, which means that I work with the volunteers, I train them, but I also do a lot of other things. I receive deliveries. I work there every time we're open to serve clients. So I register clients to get them ready to go in to get their food.
So the holidays are coming up. Can you tell me any activities that your food pantry does in order to prepare for the holidays?
Sure. Well, for Thanksgiving, we actually provided an extra bag of food for our clients. In addition to the monthly food that they get, we were able to give them, we didn't have turkeys, unfortunately, but we had chickens, stuffing, potatoes, gravy, 3 different kinds of vegetables, cranberries, so pretty much everything they would need for a Thanksgiving dinner. And we're going to be doing the same thing for Christmas, but using hams and the things that they will have. So our clients are able to come once a month to get food, but this is in addition to that. They'll get an extra bag of food.
That's awesome. So with giving people this food in your line of work, how do you see the impact on these families?
Well, most of the time, because I register the clients, I have some interaction with them, and they're very, very grateful. They really let us know how much it helps to be able to get this extra food. Nobody should be hungry. Many of these families have kids, and it's hard to have to decide between paying your electric bill and getting food for your children. So when there's a little bit of extra help being able to be given, people are usually very appreciative, and they let us know that.
That's awesome. So with the jobs within the food pantry, can you go over that and cover what's like some people do?
Sure. When people volunteer, we have some volunteers that work on the days where we get deliveries. So they help us get the food down into the pantry and set it up. And then on the days that we distribute food, we have our volunteers work behind our counters, helping people to choose the food. We're a client choice food pantry, which means that people come in and basically shop. So they have a grocery cart, they move along counters where we have all of our food set up for them to choose from, and our volunteers will help them kind of decide, offer them whatever we have to give them. Let them know the quantities they're able to take. And then also we have people who help them put their food in bags and carry it out to their cars. So there's a little something for everybody to do. Restocking as people come through, because when we're busy, we do go through a lot of food.
Yeah. And like we were talking about before the show, I know you said that like you were talking a little bit about the process of like people coming in and like how they might feel about it. And can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. When clients come in, they register with us, which means they give us their address and their name and their address. And basically that's it, except for we ask them how many people are in their family so we can kind of base how much food they will be getting. But then they're allowed to choose the food as they go through. They are able to choose the vegetables, and they're able to choose any kind of meat that they'd like, and bread and things like that. So as they're kind of working through the whole pantry, they get a little bit of sense of, again, shopping.
Yeah.
So it gives them a feeling that they're a little bit more in control, and that we aren't giving them so much of, we're not making them take certain things. Mm-hmm. We do often have our volunteers who, if a client says, I don't know what I would do with this, squash, one of our volunteers might say, well, you can chop it up, you can do this. So we kind of interact and try to help them be a little bit, a little more creative with the food that they can take.
Awesome. So as far as donations go, how is that whole process with getting food, or do people just bring in food all the time, or how's that like?
We are an agency of the Greater Chicago Food Depository. So most of the food that we distribute, we purchase with donations, monetary donations that we get. But we also do get donations from the community. The post office runs a big food collection in the spring, and they've given us a lot of food. People will bring us food. Often we have to, we can offer that to our clients, but we have strict regulations on that, whether or not we have to check dates for expiration. Sometimes people clean out their cabinets and don't realize that stuff that they're giving us is expired. So, and actually, when we do get food from the Greater Chicago Food Depository, it's a very minimal cost. So we can purchase a lot more food with donations from them than if you went to your grocery store and brought us a bag of food. And the food depository also gets some food for free from different places. And if they get it free, we get it free. So money goes a little further, but sometimes people feel better giving things.
Yeah.
So then we would encourage people to bring things such as toilet paper and dish soap and Kleenex and paper towels and toothbrushes and personal care items, shampoo, that we can't purchase through them because they really only give us food, but that people do need.
Yeah.
And again, it's making that choice. Do I buy food or do I buy a new toothbrush? We'd like them to be able to have both.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what do you think sets this share love food pantry aside from other people's food pantry?
Well, I think our volunteers make a big difference. Our volunteers are really happy to be there. They really love to interact with the clients. Sometimes people will come just to kind of check it out and see if they want to help out, and they wind up staying because it's really a great experience. So I think the fact that we have this great group, as well as the fact that we're able to offer people a choice in the food that they're going to take with them, makes our pantry a place where people like to come.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Linda, for coming on to the show. Thank you all for tuning in to the Late Hours Holiday Edition, and we will see you next time.